Babylon's shadow, celestial balance, cosmic betrayal, cosmic chaos, underworld rising, divine wrath, eternal conflict, giants awaken, infernal might, shadowed thrones.
In the depths of the underworld, where the shadows coiled like living serpents and the air was thick with the scent of brimstone, Tiamat, Ishtar, and Enlil gathered their allies in a vast chamber carved from the bones of ancient, long-dead gods. The chamber was a place of dark majesty, where the very walls seemed to pulse with the echoes of forgotten battles and the whispers of the damned. A fireless glow, cold and otherworldly, illuminated the faces of those who had been summoned here, creatures of immense power, bound by a shared thirst for vengeance and a common hatred for the divine realm. At the head of the chamber, Tiamat stood tall, her serpentine form coiled in regal menace, her eyes burning with a fierce, unyielding determination. Around her, the leaders of the three most fearsome races in the cosmos, Uthrog, the giant chieftain, Dracora, the dragon lord, and Gorgon, the master of monsters, waited with tense anticipation. The air crackled with the energy of the gathered beings, a palpable force that thrummed with the promise of violence. Tiamat's gaze swept over her assembled allies, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of cunning and malice. She could see the tension in their eyes, the anticipation of the battle to come, and she knew that each of them was waiting for her to speak, to reveal the plan that would bring the divine race to its knees. The vision of destruction. Tiamat began with a voice that was as smooth as silk, yet carried the weight of an impending storm. "We stand on the brink of a great war," she hissed, her voice echoing through the chamber like the rustle of 1,000 serpents. "Marduk has fortified the divine realm with layers of defenses, each one designed to repel our assault. He believes that these barriers will hold, that they will protect him and his kind from the wrath that we bring. But he is wrong." She paused, letting her words sink in, her eyes narrowing as she felt the tension in the room rise. "Through my prophetic vision, I have seen the defenses Marduk has built. I have seen the layers of light, storm, earth, and spirit that encircle the divine realm. I have seen the traps he has laid, the forces he has marshaled. But I have also seen the weaknesses, the cracks in his fortress. And it is through these cracks that we will strike." Uthrog, the giant chieftain, a towering figure of muscle and stone, leaned forward, his voice a deep rumble that shook the very ground. "Speak, Tiamat," he growled. "Tell us what must be done. My people are eager for battle, eager to crush the divine race beneath our feet." Dracora, his massive wings folded tightly against his scaled body, his eyes glowing with a fierce inner fire, nodded in agreement. "The dragons have been restrained for too long," he rumbled, his voice like distant thunder. "We are ready to bring the skies down upon the divine realm. Just give the word." Gorgon, his hulking form looming in the shadows, his eyes like burning coals, let out a low, menacing growl. "The monsters are restless," he hissed, his voice like the grinding of stone. "We hunger for the taste of divine flesh. Tell us how to break their defenses, and we will tear them apart." Tiamat's smile was a cold, predatory thing, a smile that spoke of dark intentions and hidden power. "Marduk's defenses are formidable," she said, her voice smooth and confident, "but they are not invincible. Each of you will have a role to play, a task that only you can accomplish. Together, we will tear down the walls of the divine realm, layer by layer, until nothing remains but ashes and ruin. The first layer, the shield of light." Tiamat's gaze settled on Uthrog, her eyes gleaming with dark promise. "The first layer of Marduk's defense is a barrier of pure light, a shield created by Shamash and Nana, the gods of the sun and moon. This shield is meant to repel darkness, to blind and burn any who approach. But light, for all its power, is also fragile. It can be shattered." Uthrog's eyes narrowed, his fists clenching at his sides. "And how do you propose we shatter this shield?" he rumbled, his voice filled with a deep, simmering anger. Tiamat's smile widened. "The giants are beings of immense strength. beings who can shatter mountains with a single blow. She said, her voice filled with a dark, seductive confidence. I will infuse you and your warriors with a power drawn from the deepest shadows of the underworld, a power that will allow you to strike at the heart of the light. You will lead the charge against the shield, battering it with your strength until it cracks and shatters. The light will fall, and the way will be open for the rest of our forces. Uthrod's eyes gleamed with a fierce, predatory light, his muscles rippling with anticipation. We will break their light, he growled, his voice filled with the promise of violence. And when we do, the giants will march upon the divine realm, and nothing will stand in our way. The second layer, the storm of wrath. Tiamat's gaze shifted to Dracora, the ancient dragon lord, his scales shimmering with a fiery glow. Beyond the shield of light lies a storm, a tempest of unimaginable fury, created by Adad and Ninurta. This storm is meant to tear apart any who breach the shield, to scatter them to the winds and drown them in a deluge of rain and lightning. But even the fiercest storm can be tamed. Dracora's eyes narrowed, his wings twitching with anticipation. How? He rumbled, his voice like the growl of distant thunder. How do you propose to tame this storm? Tiamat's smile was filled with dark cunning. The dragons are creatures of the sky, born of fire and storm, she hissed, her voice like the whisper of a gathering tempest. You and your kin will ride the winds of the storm, becoming one with the tempest. You will twist its fury to your will, turning its power against the divine realm. The storm will become our weapon, a blade of lightning and thunder that will cut through the heart of Marduk's defenses. Dracora's eyes gleamed with a fierce inner fire, his wings spreading wide as he imagined the destruction he would bring. We will ride the storm, he growled, his voice filled with the promise of devastation. And we will turn its fury against the divine realm. The skies will burn, and the gods will fall. The third layer, the wrath of the earth. Tiamat's gaze turned to Gorgon, the master of monsters, his form a hulking mass of muscle and stone, his eyes burning with a deep primal rage. The third layer of Marduk's defense lies in the earth itself. Ninmah and Dumuzi have called upon the ground to rise against us, to swallow us whole, to crush us beneath the weight of mountains. But the earth, for all its power, can be corrupted. Gorgon's eyes narrowed, his massive fists clenching at his sides. And how do you propose we corrupt the earth? He growled, his voice like the grinding of stone against stone. Tiamat's smile was cold and calculating, her eyes gleaming with dark intent. The monsters are creatures of chaos, beings born of the wild, untamed places of the world. She hissed, her voice filled with a dark, seductive confidence. You and your kin will burrow deep into the earth, infecting it with the taint of chaos. The ground will twist and writhe beneath your touch, turning against the very gods who seek to control it. The mountains will crumble, the earth will shatter, and the way will be open for our forces to advance. Gorgon's eyes burned with a fierce, primal rage, his massive form quivering with anticipation. We will corrupt the earth, he growled, his voice filled with the promise of destruction. And when we do, the ground will rise against the divine realm, and nothing will stand in our way. The fourth layer, the voices of the dead. Tiamat's gaze turned to Ishtar, the goddess of love and war, her form radiant even in the gloom of the underworld, her eyes filled with a fierce, unyielding determination. The fourth layer of Marduk's defense lies in the spirits of the dead, summoned by Ereshkigal and Nanshi. These spirits are meant to haunt the battlefield, to strike terror into the hearts of our forces, to confuse and disorient us. But the dead can be controlled. Ishtar's eyes narrowed, her expression hardening as she considered Tiamat's words. How do you propose we control the dead? She asked, her voice filled with a cold, steely resolve. Tiamat's smile was filled with dark cunning. The spirits of the dead are bound to the underworld, bound to the will of those who command them. She hissed, her voice like the whisper of a dark wind. I will grant you the power to break their bonds, to bend them to your will. You will turn the dead against the divine realm, turning their own weapons against them. The spirits will become our allies, our soldiers, and they will strike fear into the hearts of the gods. Ishtar's eyes gleamed with a fierce inner fire, her expression hardening as she imagined the power she would wield. "We will control the dead," she said, her voice filled with the promise of conquest. "And we will turn them against the divine realm. The gods will tremble, and the dead will rise to serve us." The final assault, the heart of the divine. Finally, Tiamat's gaze turned to Enlil, the storm god, his presence crackling with barely restrained energy, his eyes filled with a deep, simmering anger. The final layer of Marduk's defense lies at the heart of the divine realm, where the gods themselves stand ready to defend their home. This will be the most difficult battle, the most dangerous, but it is also where we will strike the final blow. Enlil's eyes narrowed, his fists clenching as he imagined the battle to come. "How do you propose we breach the heart of the divine realm?" he growled, his voice filled with a deep, simmering anger. Tiamat's smile was cold and calculating, her eyes gleaming with dark intent. "We will use the combined power of our forces," she hissed, her voice filled with a dark, seductive confidence. "The giants will break the light, the dragons will ride the storm, the monsters will corrupt the earth, and the dead will rise to strike fear into the hearts of the gods. And when the final layer of defense is breached, we will strike at the heart of the divine realm, destroying Marduk and his allies once and for all." Enlil's eyes gleamed with a fierce inner fire, his fists clenching as he imagined the destruction he would bring. "We will strike at the heart of the divine realm," he growled, his voice filled with the promise of devastation. "And when we do, the gods will fall, and the cosmos will belong to us." The march to war. With their plan in place, Tiamat, Ishtar, and Enlil stood at the head of their assembled allies, their eyes burning with a fierce, unyielding determination. The giants, dragons, monsters, and spirits of the dead would follow them into battle, their combined power a force of unimaginable destruction. The storm was gathering, a tempest of chaos and fury that would soon break upon the divine realm with a force that had not been seen since the dawn of creation. Tiamat's wrath, now harnessed and directed, would be the spearhead of that storm, driving deep into the heart of the divine realm and tearing it apart from within. As they marched from the underworld, their forces gathering behind them, the very ground trembled beneath their feet, the air crackling with the energy of the impending battle. The shadows deepened, the flames burned brighter, and the darkness that had once been Nurgle's domain now stretched further, reaching out into the void, hungry for more. Marduk's defenses were formidable, but Tiamat was confident that they would fall. She had seen the cracks, the weaknesses, and she knew that with the combined power of her allies, she could shatter the divine realm and bring the gods to their knees. In the silence of the march, the shadows whispered of what was to come, their voices filled with a dark anticipation. The cosmos would tremble before the might of Tiamat's empire, and the divine race, once so powerful, would fall. The storm was coming, and it would sweep away all who stood in its path.